I was on SSI for all my life. I was put into like a developmental kindergarten type, Head Start type of thing, so I never had normal kindergarten. My mom used to take me to every psychiatrist, psychologist, and put me into MRIs, just to see what was wrong with me, and put me in all these crazy medications. Living from 7 to 11 years old, didn't understand what was going on. That relationship with my mom totally severed when I was when I started 7th grade and we moved to the north side. And, my mom I didn't have, growing up, I didn't have that much freedom as other folks. I, was basically left alone in the house. My grandfather beat me, type of stuff. I was basically a scapegoat to everything because, I learned differently from other folks, I couldn't run well. I wasn't racist as well, so I couldn't run well as other folks. Couldn't ride a bike or do anything, as normal kids would do. I was told by my mom, that, you can't be queer, you can't have a disability, that's not normal, that type of taboo. And, when I turned 21 and started doing, started researching on paper, that's when, there was a book that I read using for that research paper. I read a book and it was called LGBTQ People with Developmental Disabilities or Mental Retardation. And it was by a man who ran a LGBTQ and disabled support group in Vermont. And I read all these stories. They were mostly from older people, individuals, and I was moved and I was shocked by it. It's like, how, dude, this is what society treats people with disabilities, especially those who are, identify as, the whole rainbow alphabet, I would now say, let's put it that way, the rainbow alphabet. And, and I was, I was only saddened but more uplifting because I felt like, I always thought I was the only person, I felt so isolated. It's like, no, when I read that book, it really moved me, and, I wanted to see, and it kind of woke me up to, it was like, I want to, I want to fight the abuses of power against people with disabilities. Yeah, it's like, it's 2011, the time is now. I'm actually I'm part of an organization in Chicago called Gender Just, which is, a nonprofit LGBTQ organization. We, basically build, mostly grassroots organizing, development leaders through that on the basis of, economic, racial, and gender justice within the LGBTQ community. There's one we did the forum, that was in June 2009 with, when Ron Huberman was the CEO of Chicago Public Schools, and, I kind of heard so much about him because he, he used to be president of the Chicago Transit Authority, and and this was when I started on the Safe and Affirming Education campaign. That was, up and new, and I was super nervous about speaking in front of a crowd and telling Huberman, who was standing right on the side of me, what I really want. I want these kids and these TPS schools to not go through the same crap I did in high school, being bullied, being marginalized, being pushed away by both students and faculty and staff, because, you know, not just my disability, but like, you know, my gender identity and expression and my sexual orientation. You know, I didn't want them to feel the same way I did. And there was like too many kids, you know, committing suicide because they felt lost. I don't, you know, I basically literally told Huberman that, you know, and, you know, it was a very profound moment for me, because it was like the first time I spoke to a big time politician that I normally see on, you know, on the Channel 5 news. It blew me away. I didn't think I would have like the immense guts to talk to somebody like that. Basically within Gender Just, they've been like my family for like 2 years, and you know, coming from a really abusive family, you know, if Gender Just wasn't there, I wouldn't know where the hell I would be right now. So I've, you know, found this, like, that's my whole sense of community. It's, you know, within Gender Just, you know, you have folks who are very accepting of other people, and, you know, the work they do, the work they do, it's like affects everybody, you know, and, you know, the more we work on these issues, such as, you know, economic, social, and racial justice, if it has to do about unions, if it has to do about immigration, if it has to do about, you know, artists' rights or whatever, or sex workers' rights, you know, people have a right to be accepted and feel, you know, positive within themselves.